Hi, this is Anne from Virtual Quilters. So the next step in our January clues for our mystery quilt for 2025 is to actually start cutting the fabric. You have a whole month to do this, so hopefully that gives you time to work on other projects that you have. So if you happen to use the layer cake, or they're called 10-inch squares, as a group, the way you're going to cut those, the instructions are on the chart that you'll be able to download and print or read from the website. But anyway, so you're going to cut them. I've cut these and then kind of put them together so I can demonstrate quickly how to do that. So you're going to cut a 3.5-inch strip across it, and then two 3-inch strips. And then you're going to subcut them to make two 3.5-inch squares. This is going to be left over and can go into your scrap bin. Then you're going to have two of the 3.5-inch squares from this fabric, and then you're going to subcut these to make 3-inch squares. And that's what's left over for the scraps. And we're going to have 6 of those. And then this is a leftover scrap. So that's what you're going to end up with, and that's on the sheet. You should end up with 2 3.5-inch squares and 6 3-inch squares. And that's going to be done with each 10-inch square that you do for the pattern. You're going to also be cutting your background fabric into squares. You're going to have lots of squares at the end of this. So that's on the chart again. So we have, I'll set this aside. Okay, so anyway, so you're going to be cutting, it says to cut strips. So fabric A, you're going to cut, and the chart will tell you how many strips to cut. That is something where you put the selvage edge towards you, and you're going to cut across with the fabric, and it'll give you the dimensions. Once again, it'll be 3-inch and 3.5-inch strips. And then those will be subcut into squares just like you just did. So I'm not going to show you that, but so here's the strip, and if you go to the chart, it'll tell you how many you need to cut of your background fabric. And there's going to be 2 background fabrics, remember, so you want to cut all the background fabric A, and then in a different value is going to be background fabric B, and you're going to cut all of those. And so you'll end up with all these piles. Now, one thing to note, and it's in the chart so you know about it, is that a tip is to organize, when you get done cutting everything, to organize and to be ready and organized for the next clues, is with 1 3.5-inch square from this color, and what does it say here? And 3 of the 3-inch squares. 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be a set that you're going to keep, and keep them together. You can clip them or pin them or whatever's comfortable for you. And then all the background squares, you're going to just keep those in 2 stacks, 1 of each of the colors. And you'll be ready to go. We have on here also the binding, which you can cut ahead of time. And it tells you how many on the chart again, how many of those you'll need, depending on which size quilt you choose to make. So, and if, like I mentioned before, if you are going to use scraps or you're going to use yardage from your stash, you just need to have a target of how many you need to make. So I'll give you an example on the chart. Hopefully you can read this. So, so this is how many 3.5-inch squares you should end up with from the main fabric, you know, the layer cakes if you use those 10-inch squares. And it'll go over to, let's say, the throw size, and that's how many, 84 of those squares you should end up with. And if you do that, then you know you're good. If you're cutting from scraps or from yardage, then just cut that many of the squares by making the strips the width and then subcutting them, so you come up with the squares you need. And that is it. Next, that's your homework for this month. And in February will be the first Monday of February. We will be giving you your next clue, and you're actually going to start sewing at that point. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, ann@virtualquilters.com. You can come to our Zoom sessions, and I'm going to be having, I haven't done this before, but I'm going to be having a Zoom session on Saturday, this Saturday, January 11th, from 10 to 12 California time, Pacific time. So if you want to come and work on your project of cutting things, you have questions on picking your fabric, you can show up on Zoom and ask questions and work on things, or just hang out. So that'll all be on our newsletter, and we'll post it on our Facebook page so everybody knows. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.